Hey everybody, Jared back here with Guns and Gadgets. This is going to be the third video in the series of obtaining your license to carry firearms in Massachusetts. So if you've watched the series so far, you've taken your basic firearm safety course, you have filled out your application to obtain your license to carry, and you have cut checks to two individuals, your trainer for your safety course, and $100 to your local PD to go through the process of submitting your application. Okay, so that's done. So now, after you submit all this information, the local PD starts their process. They're going to call you down, depending on the schedule of the licensing official, and do an interview with you, which you're going to come down to your local PD, and we have a computer that is specifically for the firearms application process. To take a digital thumbprint if it's a renewal, and take a digital picture of you as well. If it's your first process, major PDs will have an automatic fingerprint scanning system. They'll take your fingerprints, all 10 of them, and make sure you're not some crazy person who started his life over again, and you're eligible to go through the process. So they'll do records checks with these. So your interview is basically picture and fingerprints and getting to know you, why do you want to get a license? That's basically it. So if you get your call, you go down, probably be a half an hour. It's pretty much all it'll take, because the process is pretty quick. So after you leave there, what happens? They have 30 days, the PD has 30 days to submit this information to the Colonel of the State Police or his designee, whoever's running the licensing division at that time. And this is where all your background checks come into play. So your information is sent off to the Department of Mental Health to see if you've ever been institutionalized for whatever reason, or if you've received treatment for such. It's submitted to the Massachusetts State Police for a criminal background check for Massachusetts, and it's sent to the FBI, where they do a federal and international check on you. So if you know you did something 10 years ago, they're going to know you did it too. So just be honest throughout the process, because it shows your integrity or lack thereof, and it will affect you going forward. Because each chief of police is the licensing official, and they can deny you the license for a whole lot of reasons if they don't think you're fit. So don't give them a reason to think that you're not fit. Because, the Second Amendment, if you're going through this process, you love the Second Amendment. And the Second Amendment is the only constitutional right that you have to pay to have a license to use. I mean, it's crazy, but that's the way it is. So follow the laws and be forthright and honest. So it goes through all those record checks. And like I said in a couple videos ago, if you have a sealed record in the state or whatever state you used to live in, they're going to be able to open those records. So be honest with what you have. If it says, have you ever been convicted of a felony, and you did 15 years ago, but it's sealed, it's going to come up that you were convicted for a felony. So be honest. So you go through your record check after your interview, and it either gets approved or denied. And if it's approved, it gets sent to the application gets sent to the Department of Criminal Justice Information Services and here in Massachusetts, where they just basically do an error check, and they're the ones who print out your actual hard copy. And they're batch printed, so it could, if your stuff gets submitted to them at the beginning of the month and they only print them at the end of the month, you got to wait a whole month before it's printed, and then it's sent back to your local PD, where they will call you down based on their time schedule, and you'll be issued your shiny new LTC, and also a PIN number. Now, your PIN number is a 4-digit number, given just random, made up by the Firearms Record Bureau throughout the process, and that's used when you purchase anything. Like if you go to get a new rifle, they need your PIN number now. So it's kind of like a way to track what you do. I don't agree with it, but that's what it is. If you're denied for whatever reason, there's a boatload of laws that you can be denied under. I'll rifle off a couple of them, which are the major reasons people are denied. And then I'll go over real quick what to do if you are denied, but you still meet all the legal minimum requirements. There's still a way to get your license. If the chief of police says, I don't like the way this guy, I just don't like the way he looks at dresses, I don't like him, I don't think he's suitable. So you can appeal it. But quick rundown of anything. And there's a chart that's available on a couple different websites that make it easier for you. I'll link one of them here so you can pull it up and see it for yourself. But if you're ever convicted as an adult of a felony, that makes you permanently ineligible to get a license to carry. And your ineligibility period is for 5 years. So if you convicted of a felony 4 years ago, you have to wait another year before you can be deemed eligible again. That's crazy. In the state, there's all kinds of hoops. Conviction under any law regulating the use, possession, or sale of a controlled substance as defined under Mass General Law, Chapter 94C, Section 1, which is the narcotics law. Permanently ineligible. And the permanent ineligibility only is for trafficking in controlled substances. Otherwise, again, it's a 5-year period where you have to wait. So if you get convicted of trafficking, you're never going to get a license to carry in Massachusetts. If it was, you got pinched with some weed or whatever when you were younger, 5 years from the date of conviction. Not from the date of your arrest, the date of your conviction. Two different things. Confinement to a hospital or institution for mental illness. At any age. Your ineligibility can be waived with a physician's affidavit. So if you can get a doctor to say, you know what, he's good to go now, she's good to go now, they no longer talk to Martians, or they no longer wear a tinfoil hat, then that will make you eligible again. If you can't get a doctor to say that, then you're probably not cured of your whatever the ailment is, so you're not going to be eligible in Massachusetts. And again, it can only be waived with a physician's affidavit, not a nurse, not a physician's assistant. It has to be a physician. Let's see. Next one is being the current subject of a restraining order. You beat your wife, or you beat your husband, or you beat your kids, you're not getting. You're ineligible while the order is current. So if you have a permanent restraining order in this state, permanently ineligible to get a license to carry. So if you had an older order, like a emergency restraining order against you for whatever, 60 days, 90 days, a year, whatever, and that's gone and done with, then you're eligible for that, but you still have other crimes that might make you ineligible. Felony conviction as a juvenile, okay, you're permanently ineligible, and it can be waived after 5 years, but you have to ask for the waiver, and that's through a petition process as well, which is another $100. Welcome to Massachusetts. Conviction of a misdemeanor punishable by imprisonment for more than 2 years. It includes OUI, which is operating under the influence of alcohol or narcotics in Massachusetts, or DWI in other states, depending on what your state calls it. And it can be used against you May 27th, 1994, I believe is the date. So anything after that date can be used against you. And while your state you came from might be a misdemeanor, if it can be punishable by 2 years or more, it's considered, it could have been a felony type punishment. So that's where you can get caught up into, and it's permanently ineligible. Again, it's a 5-year period now that you can reapply. Conviction of a violent crime, permanently ineligible, and that's done. There's no 5-year window for that. If you committed a violent crime, like you killed somebody, you're not getting a license to carry. Conviction under any law relating to weapons or ammunition for which imprisonment may be imposed. Not was imposed, may be imposed. If it was not dismount, like say you gotta pay a fine and go hang around and clean some street corners for 40 hours, that's still there, and you could have gone to prison for it, so you still get triggered under this. Permanently ineligible, and but that's a 5-year waiting period, so that you can overcome that. Past or current treatment for drug addiction or habitual drunkenness. So if you're addicted to narcotics for any reason, or you're a severe alcoholic who needs treatment or whatever, or even if you don't think you need treatment, if you're falling into one of those two, you're ineligible. It's waived after 5 years from treatment. So if you go get clean and sober, 5 years have to go by, and you need a physician's affidavit saying such as well. And being a subject of any outstanding arrest warrants in any state or federal jurisdiction. So if you have a warrant, they're not going to give you a license to carry. And it's ineligible with outstanding warrants. So if you had a warrant from when you were a kid because you skipped school, that's still an outstanding warrant if you haven't taken care of it. In Massachusetts, 5 years, those 5-year waiver issues I was telling you about, the 5 years starts from the end of parole, probation, or the conviction date, or the date you were adjudicated, whichever is the last occurring. Like I said before, it's not your arrest date, it's the date that you were released, or your date you were actually convicted if you didn't go to prison, stuff like that. And it's important that a person with an FID card, which is a lesser standard than the LTC because it's for rifles and shotguns and you get it at 18, if you're not eligible to receive a license to carry a pistol, you're considered ineligible to own a gun by the federal government, and you cannot purchase rifles, shotguns, or ammo from a dealer. So they can go back and get you if you had an FID card. You know what I mean? They could, if you screwed up and you're applying for the LTC and they find you're ineligible for that, well, now you have no more FID. A violent crime in Massachusetts is considered any crime which could have been punished by a term exceeding 1 year, or any act of juvenile delinquency involving the use of possession of a deadly weapon that would be punishable or imprisoned by such term if committed by an adult, that one has an element of use, attempted use, or threatened use of physical force or deadly weapon against a person of another, burglary, extortion, arson, kidnapping, involves the use of explosives, or otherwise involves conduct that presents a serious risk of physical injury to other. And the definition includes simple assault, assault and battery, and burglary. So while simple assault, smacking somebody and get caught, or the basic fight when you were younger and stuff like that, that's a violent crime for reasons of licenses and for firearms and the background check for such. And the Firearms Licensing Review Board was established to review cases of individuals convicted of certain misdemeanors. So if you want to appeal a felony, the Firearms Review Board can't do it. It can only be for misdemeanors now. You could also petition to a court to have a judge decide what if you can have the right to carry and stuff like that. And if you do that, there's a whole other process. Of course, it's Massachusetts. So if you're going to appeal by a petition, there's another form, and I'll have a link to it. It's a 4-page document. First is a letter explaining, here you didn't get it, and this is what your petition process is, and then the actual form petition, it's another $100. So now you're into it for almost $300. And if it doesn't go through, it doesn't go through. But if your petition is approved, it gets kicked back down to the local PD, and the chief can still say, nah. So know what you're doing every step of the way. It's detailed. If you screw up any one of the details along the way, you could screw up your chance permanently to get a firearms license. If you move, you have to make a letter out to the town you're moving from, the police department, the town you're moving to's police department, and the Firearms Record Bureau, telling them this is my license number. It was issued on this date by this city or town, and I'm moving from this address to this address, and you're good to go. If you don't do that, you get 30 days, 30-day window. If you don't do that, and say you got your license in Worcester, and now you're moving to Boston, and you get pinched, or you get stopped and you're carrying a gun, and you have your license to carry from Massachusetts, and now you're in Boston and 2 years has passed, you can get charged for carrying without a license, and that's not a good thing. So know your laws, know the process, know that they're going to check everything about you, know that they will open sealed records, and good luck. I hope this helped. I believe we should be able to have constitutional carry, but it doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what the state has for a process. I hope that helps you through the process. If you have any questions or comments, please like or subscribe. Let me know. Leave a comment, and I can get you the answer if I don't have it with me at the moment. And I try to respond to everybody as soon as I can. I do have 4 kids, and I do work full-time, so sometimes it might take a day or two. But thank you for watching. I appreciate your time, and good luck. Have a good one.